This isn't revenge. It's consequences.
The saw kicked back and bit deep into my palm, splitting skin like wet paper. Drops dripped onto the cedar planks I'd been cutting for the Hendersons' pergola, staining the wood dark red. I wrapped my hand in an old shop rag and kept working. Pain was just another cost of doing business. My phone buzzed against the workbench, another text from Mrs. Henderson. Found someone faster online. Canceling project, sorry. 15 years building custom decks in Charlotte, and now every soccer mom with a smartphone thought she could find better. I stared at the half-finished pergola pieces, calculating how much money I'd just lost on materials alone. The bandage around my hand was already soaked through. "Dad, what's with you?" My son Tyler called from the garage door. He was 9, sharp as his mother used to be before she got bored with everything that wasn't about her image. "It's just a scratch, buddy. Go tell Mom I'll be in for dinner in 20 minutes. Tyler disappeared back into the house. Through the kitchen window, I could see Melody pacing while talking on her phone, gesturing wildly like she always did when talking to her precious mommy group. The same group that had become her entire world over the past 6 months. I cleaned up everything and headed inside. Melody was standing by the sink, still on her phone. "No, Tracy, I think the spa retreat is exactly what I need for my mental health," she said, twirling a strand of her freshly highlighted hair.
Some women just need more self-care than others. She hung up and turned to me with that smile she'd perfected for Instagram photos. "Evan, honey, I'm going away this weekend. Girls retreat at that new place in Asheville."
Tracy organized the whole thing for the mommy group. I nodded, wrapping my cut hand tighter. "When are you leaving?" "Tomorrow morning. I'll be back Sunday night. It's all about female empowerment and finding yourself." She touched my arm gently. "You understand, right? I've been feeling so trapped lately." That night I lay in bed listening to her pack. Designer clothes for a mental health retreat, high heels for hiking, lingerie for female empowerment. The math didn't add up, but I'd learned to keep my mouth shut about Melody's inconsistencies. She left Saturday morning in her white SUV, kissing my cheek and promising to text updates. I spent the day with Tyler, teaching him to use sandpaper on some scrapwood. He had good hands, steady like mine used to be. Sunday night, she returned glowing and refreshed. But when I hugged her, the SUV smelled wrong. Not like mountain air or spa treatments, like hotel soap and cologne that wasn't mine. The mommy group consumed Melody like a fever. Every conversation started and ended with Tracy Ellison and her circle of suburban queens. Weekly brunches at overpriced cafes, shopping trips to buy matching athleisure, weekend retreats that seemed to happen every other month. "Tracy says we need to invest in ourselves," Melody announced over breakfast, scrolling through her phone. "She's organizing a wellness seminar next weekend. Only $50 per person." I buttered Tyler's toast and said nothing. $50 here, $100 there. The credit card statements had become novels of Melody's self-discovery journey. That Tuesday, while Tyler played Xbox, I decided to organize our finances. Credit card notifications had been piling up in my email. Most were routine. Grocery stores, gas stations, Tyler's school supplies. Then I saw it. PayPal payment to Blue Ridge Luxury Suites, $347.89. Note, "Thanks for last night, XO." My hands went cold. I clicked the link and found myself staring at a boutique hotel's website. Couples packages, romantic getaways, champagne and rose petals. When Melody came home from her lunch with the girls, I was waiting in the kitchen. "How was Tracy today?" I asked casually. "Oh, you know Tracy, always full of advice about living your best life." She grabbed a water bottle from the fridge. "We're planning another retreat next month, somewhere really special this time." I showed her my phone screen. "This special?" Her face went white, then flushed red. That was for all of us. The group decided to split a luxury suite for our last retreat. You know, make it more special. For $347 each? Evan, why are you interrogating me? I'm allowed to spend money on myself. Her voice pitched higher, the way it did when she was scrambling. Do you know how hard it is being a stay-at-home mom? How invisible I feel sometimes. I took a screenshot of the PayPal notification and closed my phone. I'm just trying to understand the math. That night, I created a new folder in my phone. Called it Receipts. Installing the dashcam in Melody's SUV took 5 minutes. Modern technology made surveillance almost embarrassingly easy. a simple GPS tracker that uploaded locations to an app on my phone. She'd never noticed the tiny device tucked under her dashboard. I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe there was an innocent explanation for everything. Maybe Tracy's group really did spend $300 a night on luxury suites for female bonding. But paranoia and preparation looked a lot alike. Friday morning, Melody announced another retreat weekend. Tracy found this amazing place. Really exclusive. I probably won't have cell service, so don't worry if you don't hear from me. Where exactly? It's a surprise location. Part of the whole experience of disconnecting from our normal lives. She kissed Tyler goodbye and grabbed her overnight bag. I'll see you Sunday evening. Through my phone app, I watched her drive across town. Not toward Asheville or the mountains, but to a familiar part of Charlotte. The GPS dot stopped at 412 Elm Street, Dr. Jonas Ellison's dental practice. Jonas Ellison, Tracy's husband. The guy who smiled too much at neighborhood barbecues and always found reasons to stand close to other men's wives. My work partner, Daryl, was the kind of man who noticed things without being asked. Ex-military, 10 years in prison for aggravated assault, and loyal as a dog once he decided you were worth it. He didn't ask questions when I gave him Jonas's address and $200 cash. Just want to know who she's really spending time with, I said. Daryl nodded. How detailed do you want this? Pictures? Times? License plates? Whatever you can get without getting arrested. Sunday evening, he handed me a manila envelope. Your wife ain't at no women's retreat, Evan. The photos told the story my gut already knew. Melody and Jonas entering the Blue Ridge luxury suites together at 2:47 p.m. Saturday, Jonas carrying her bag like a gentleman. Them kissing in the hotel parking lot at 11:23 a.m. Sunday before she drove home. The last photo showed Jonas's hand on her ass as they walked toward the hotel entrance. I sat in my truck outside Tyler's soccer practice, staring at the evidence of my marriage's death. Other fathers stood around discussing lawn care and weekend plans, while my world cracked apart in high-definition color photographs. When Tyler jumped in the truck after practice, sweaty and happy, I realized something important. This wasn't about me anymore. It was about him, about making sure his life stayed stable when everything else went to the underworld. Dad, you okay? You look weird. Just tired, buddy. Let's go home. That night, I started planning. Tracy Ellison loved being the center of attention. She organized block parties, coordinated school fundraisers, and treated the neighborhood like her personal kingdom. So when she announced a summer family picnic at Beach Creek Park, every family with children felt obligated to attend. It'll be so fun, Melody gushed over breakfast. Tracy rented one of those big pavilions with the projector set up for outdoor movies. All the kids will love it. I sipped my coffee and watched her practice enthusiasm in real time. Sounds great. What time should we be there? Oh, actually, she twisted her wedding ring, a nervous habit she'd developed recently. Tracy thought it might be nice to make it more of a mom and kids thing. You know how the dads always end up talking about sports and ignoring everyone else? I see. I buttered my toast slowly. So I'm not invited to the family picnic? It's not that you're not invited, it's just Tracy thinks the group dynamics work better with just the moms and children. More intimate conversations about parenting and relationships. Tyler looked up from his cereal. Can Dad come watch the movie at least? Melody's smile looked like it was held on with staples. We'll see, sweetie. I spent that week making my own preparations. Called in a favor with my buddy Rick, who worked audio-visual setup for corporate events. Borrowed some equipment, made copies of everything in my receipts folder, organized by date and time. The night before the picnic, Melody was unusually affectionate. She made my favorite dinner, opened a bottle of wine, and sat close to me on the couch while we watched TV. I love you, she said, her head on my shoulder. I know I've been distant lately, but I love our family. I kissed the top of her head and smelled her expensive shampoo. I love you too. Some lies are easier than the truth. Saturday morning, she dressed carefully in a new sundress that probably cost more than my monthly truck payment. Tyler wore his favorite Pokemon shirt and carried a backpack full of toys. You sure you don't mind staying home? She asked, checking her makeup in the hallway mirror. I've got work to catch up on anyway. You two have fun? I watched them drive away, then loaded my truck with Rick's borrowed equipment. Beach Creek Park was buzzing with families when I arrived at 3 o'clock. Kids ran between picnic tables while mothers clustered in their carefully orchestrated social circles. The pavilion was decorated with balloons and banners reading, "Summer Fun for Charlotte Families." Tracy stood near the projector setup, directing traffic like a traffic cop at a four-way intersection. She spotted me immediately. "Evan, I thought you weren't coming." Her smile was automatic, but her eyes were calculating. Changed my mind. Wanted to see Tyler enjoy the movie. I found Melody spreading a blanket near the front of the pavilion. Tyler was already running around with other kids, his backpack forgotten. She looked surprised, but not displeased to see me. "I brought some equipment to help with the projector," I said, holding up Rick's professional HDMI switcher. "This old setup probably doesn't have the best connection quality." Tracy overheard and practically bounced over. "Oh, that's wonderful. Jonas was just saying the projection looked a little fuzzy." You know how he is about having everything perfect. Jonas appeared as if summoned, wearing polo shirt and khakis like a uniform for suburban infidelity. "Evan, didn't expect to see you here, buddy." He clapped my shoulder with the confidence of a man who thought he was untouchable. "Figured I'd help out with the technical stuff," I said, shaking his hand firmly. "I brought some better cables." While they chatted about screen resolution and sound quality, I connected my equipment to their projector system. Rick's switcher made it easy to toggle between inputs. The families gathered closer as the afternoon sun began to fade. Tracy called for attention. "Everyone, gather around." "Kyrie, before we start the movie, I wanted to say a few words about our amazing community of families." Parents settled onto blankets while children fidgeted with anticipation. Tyler found his way back to our blanket, leaning against Melody's shoulder. "This was the moment I'd been planning for weeks. We've built something special here," Tracy continued. "A place where we can trust each other, support each other, and raise our children together in honesty and love." I pulled out my phone and opened the slideshow I'd prepared, clicked connect to the switcher. "Families are built on trust," Tracy went on knowing that the people in your life are exactly who they say they are. The projector screen flickered as my phone connected. Parents murmured, thinking it was a technical glitch. "And when that trust is broken," Tracy said, "it damages everyone, especially the children." I pressed play. The first image filled the 12-foot screen, Melody and Jonas kissing in the hotel parking lot, timestamp clearly visible. Someone screamed. Children started crying. Parents scrambled to cover their kids' eyes as more photos cycled through. PayPal receipts, GPS tracking data showing Sunday morning visits to Jonas's office. Text message screenshots I'd recovered from Melody's synced iPad. Tracy's speech died in her throat. Melody lunged for my phone, but I was already standing, holding it high above her reach. "You want to talk about trust?" I said to the crowd. "Let's talk about trust." Jonas stepped toward me, his face purple with rage. "Turn that off right now, you psychotic." I punched him once, clean and hard across the jaw. He dropped like wet cement. The slideshow continued cycling. Hotel receipts. More photos. A screenshot of Jonas texting Melody. "Can't wait to taste you again." "Daddy, what's happening?" Tyler pulled at my shirt, confused and scared. I turned off the projector and looked down at my son. "We're going home, buddy." "Get your backpack." Melody was crying, makeup streaming down her face. "You're humiliating yourself. This is insane." "I'm humiliating myself?" I picked up Tyler's backpack and took his hand. "You did that for me months ago." Tracy was on her knees next to Jonas, who was trying to sit up. Other families packed up their things in hurried silence. As Tyler and I walked toward my truck, I heard Tracy's voice rising behind us. "You lying whore. In my own neighborhood. With my husband." By the time we reached the parking lot, parents were pulling out their phones to record Tracy chasing Melody across the park with what looked like a pool noodle. Monday morning, I filed for divorce. My lawyer, Sharon Hayes, was a sharp woman who specialized in high-conflict cases. She reviewed my evidence folder with professional admiration. "This is very thorough," she said, clicking through the digital files. "GPS data, financial records, photographic evidence. When did you start documenting?" 6 weeks ago. "Good instincts. North Carolina allows no-fault divorce, but adultery can still affect property division and alimony." She closed the folder. "With this documentation, we can freeze joint accounts, secure primary custody, and protect your assets." I signed papers while Tyler sat in the waiting room reading a comic book. Through the office window, I could see families walking their kids to school. Normal families with normal problems. By noon, Melody's access to our joint accounts was suspended. By 2 p.m., she was served with divorce papers at her sister's house where she'd spent the night. By 4 p.m., my phone had 43 missed calls and 87 text messages. I blocked her number and picked Tyler up from school. "Is Mom still mad about yesterday?" he asked as we drove home. "Mom made some bad choices. That's why she's staying somewhere else for a while." "Are you getting divorced?" 9 years old, and he already understood the math. "Yeah, buddy. We are—" He was quiet for several blocks. "Will I still see her?" "Of course, she's still your mom." That night, Melody showed up at our front door. I watched her through the security camera I'd installed the week before, pacing on the porch and occasionally pounding on the door. "Evan, please, we need to talk. This is all a misunderstanding." I called the police. They arrived 20 minutes later and escorted her off the property with a warning about trespassing. Tyler watched from his bedroom window as the patrol car's red and blue lights swept across our yard. "She looked really sad," he said. "Yes, she did. Do you still love her?" I tucked him into bed and turned on his nightlight. "I love the person I thought she was, but that person wasn't real." Jonas tried to fight back through the legal system. His lawyer filed harassment charges, claiming I'd stalked him and violated his privacy. The district attorney reviewed the case for exactly 4 hours before dismissing it. "Hard to claim harassment when you're the one who chose to have an affair in public places," Sharon explained over coffee, "especially when the plaintiff was engaged in adultery." But Jonas's real problem wasn't legal. It was professional. The North Carolina State Board of Dental Examiners took a dim view of practitioners who used their medical offices for extramarital affairs. When I submitted my evidence package to their ethics committee, they opened an investigation within a week. Dr. Jonas Ellison was suspended from practice pending a full review of his professional conduct. I learned this when Daryl called me Thursday afternoon, laughing so hard he could barely talk. "You need to drive by the Ellison house," he wheezed. "Right now." I found Jonas in Tracy's driveway, loading suitcases into his BMW while Tracy stood on the front porch screaming at him. She was holding a garden rake like a tool, jabbing it toward him every time he got too close to the house. 23 years of marriage?" she shrieked. "With that plastic witch from down the street?" Jonas tried to approach the porch again. Tracy swung the rake, barely missing his head. "I'm sorry, Tracy. It meant nothing." "Nothing? Nothing?" She threw the rake at him like a javelin. It bounced off his windshield, leaving a spiderweb crack. "Your dental license is nothing. Your reputation is nothing. Our house is nothing." A crowd of neighbors had gathered to watch the show. I recognized several families from the picnic, their children peeking around parked cars to get a better view. Jonas spotted me and pointed. "This is his fault. He destroyed everything." Tracy turned to look at me, her face streaked with tears and mascara. For a moment, I thought she might redirect her rage in my direction. Instead, she started clapping. "Good," she said, her voice carrying across the yard. "Good for you, Evan. At least somebody in this neighborhood has balls." Other neighbors started clapping too. Jonas's face went from red to purple as the applause spread. He threw his last suitcase into the BMW and peeled out of the driveway, leaving black tire marks on Tracy's concrete. That evening, Tyler and I grilled burgers in the backyard. He was getting better with the spatula, only dropping one patty into the coals. "Why was Mrs. Ellison so angry?" he asked. "Because her husband lied to her." "Lying to someone you love is about the worst thing you can do." He flipped a burger successfully. "Is that why you're not angry?" "What do you mean?" "You seem sad, but not angry like Mrs. Ellison." I watched him concentrate on the grill, tongue poking out in determination. "I think I used up all my anger taking those pictures and planning what to do next. Now I just feel tired." "And relieved?" "Yeah, buddy. And relieved." 3 weeks later, Melody showed up at Tyler's parent-teacher conference. I was sitting in Mrs. Rodriguez's classroom, discussing Tyler's progress in reading comprehension, when Melody walked in wearing a dress I'd never seen before. She looked thinner, more desperate around the eyes. "Sorry I'm late," she said brightly. "Traffic was terrible." Mrs. Rodriguez looked between us uncertainly. "I wasn't expecting both parents tonight." "We're working on co-parenting amicably," Melody said, settling into the chair next to me. "For Tyler's sake." I pulled a folded document from my jacket and handed it to Mrs. Rodriguez. This is the current custody order. I have primary custody, and any school decisions need to go through me. Melody's smile faltered. Evan, that's not necessary. We're both Tyler's parents. According to the state of North Carolina, I'm Tyler's primary guardian. You have supervised visitation rights pending the outcome of the divorce proceedings. Mrs. Rodriguez scanned the document quickly. I see. Well, Tyler is doing very well in all subjects. His reading level is actually above grade level, and he's shown excellent leadership qualities during group activities. That's wonderful to hear, I said. Melody leaned forward. Has he seemed upset lately? Any behavioral changes? He's been a little quieter than usual, but that's understandable given the family transition. Children are remarkably resilient. I stood up. Thank you for your time, Mrs. Rodriguez. Tyler's lucky to have such a dedicated teacher. Melody followed me into the hallway. Evan, please, we need to talk about this situation. No, we don't. All communication goes through the lawyers now. This is ridiculous. I made a mistake. But that doesn't make me a bad mother. I stopped walking and turned to face her. You spent 6 months lying to our son about where you were going every weekend. You used our joint credit card to pay for hotel rooms with another man. You looked Tyler in the eye and lied about mom retreats and female empowerment while you were sleeping with your friend's husband. She started crying. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Jonas said he was going to leave Tracy anyway. We were going to be together. And where's Jonas now? Her tears came harder. He won't return my calls. He says it's too complicated now that everyone knows. Turns out it's easier to sneak around than to actually commit to something real. I lost everything, Evan. My friends, my reputation, my marriage. Doesn't that count for something? I walked toward the exit. It counts as consequences. In the parking lot, I saw her try to start her SUV. The engine turned over but didn't catch. She tried again and again, flooding the engine. I drove past her without stopping. Melody's social exile was swift and complete. The neighborhood mommy group disbanded entirely after the picnic incident, but the individual members made their positions clear. She was blocked from the community Facebook page. Her invitations to school events went unanswered. At the grocery store, other mothers literally turned away when she approached. I learned all this from Tyler, who reported on his visits with his mother like a war correspondent from a disaster zone. Mom cried during the whole movie, he said, after a supervised visit to the mall. And she kept buying me stuff I didn't want. What kind of stuff? Expensive toys, like she thought I'd be happier if she spent more money. He picked at his sandwich. It was weird. Melody had moved into a furnished apartment across town, the kind of place that charged weekly rates and didn't ask too many questions. Her credit cards were maxed out, her savings account emptied by legal fees, and her employment prospects were limited by the fact that her scandal had become neighborhood legend. She applied for a job at Little Angel's daycare, Tyler reported after another visit, but Mrs. Patterson owns that place, and she was at the picnic. Did she get the job? Mom said Mrs. Patterson told her they needed someone with better character references. The divorce proceedings moved forward with mechanical precision. Sharon had structured everything to protect Tyler's interests and ensure Melody couldn't claim ignorance about our financial situation. She signed a prenup 15 years ago, Sharon explained during one of our meetings. She waived her rights to alimony in the event of adultery. She gets whatever was in her separate accounts plus child support when she has visitation. How much child support? Based on her current income? About $200 a month. Melody's current income was $0. Meanwhile, my business was recovering from the slow period. Word had spread about my situation, and apparently several wives in Charlotte appreciated a man who could handle problems with precision and planning. I had 3 new deck projects lined up through the fall. Tyler was adjusting better than I'd expected. His grades remained solid, he'd made new friends at school, and he seemed relieved not to constantly navigate the tension that had filled our house during Melody's affair. Do you miss her? I asked him one evening while we worked on a model airplane together. He considered this carefully. I miss the mom she was when I was little, before she got so worried about what other people thought. Yeah, buddy. I miss that person too. Jonas's professional destruction was thorough and public. The dental board revoked his license for 6 months and placed him on permanent probation. His partnership in the dental practice was dissolved, forcing him to sell his share at a significant loss, but his personal life imploded even more spectacularly. His ex-wife from college, a woman named Patricia who lived in Virginia, had received an anonymous email containing my entire evidence file. She immediately hired a lawyer and sued Jonas for retroactive alimony modification, claiming he'd hidden assets during their original divorce proceedings. I never admitted to sending that email, but Daryl smiled whenever the subject came up. Patricia won her case. The judge ordered Jonas to pay 15 years of back alimony plus interest, a sum that effectively claimed everything he'd accumulated since their divorce. His house, his savings, his luxury car, all of it went to satisfy the judgment. Tracy got the house in their divorce settlement, but Jonas got the debt. Last I heard, he was living in a studio apartment near the airport, working as a dental hygienist for a corporate clinic. His BMW had been repossessed, his country club membership canceled, and his reputation in Charlotte's dental community was radioactive. Melody's situation was less dramatic but equally final. She'd found a job at a call center in South Charlotte, making $13 an hour to answer customer service complaints for a health insurance company. Her furnished apartment was in a complex that catered to people starting over after personal disasters. Tyler's visits with her became increasingly strained as her bitterness grew. "She keeps asking me if I'm angry at her," he said after a particularly difficult weekend. "Like she wants me to be mad so she can feel better about being sad. What do you tell her? That I just want her to be happy again. But I don't think she remembers how." The divorce was finalized on a Thursday in October. Sharon called to tell me the judge had signed the final decree, officially dissolving my marriage of 16 years. I felt nothing. No relief, no sadness, no anger, just the quiet satisfaction of a job completed correctly. That weekend, Tyler and I started building a treehouse in the backyard. The same corner where Melody had once said a treehouse would be an eyesore that hurts property values. Tyler designed it himself, sketching out platforms and rope ladders with the concentration of an architect. We worked together measuring lumber, checking levels, and planning each step. "This is way better than the stupid mommy picnic," he said, hammering nails with increasing confidence. "Yeah, it is." Spring arrived with a warmth that felt like possibility. The treehouse was nearly finished, just needing railings and a roof. Tyler had grown 3 inches over the winter and developed calluses on his hands from helping with construction projects. My business was thriving. Referrals led to bigger jobs, and bigger jobs led to a reputation for quality work and reliable character. I'd hired 2 more guys and bought a second truck. Tyler was playing Little League baseball and had joined the robotics club at school. His confidence had grown along with his height, and he carried himself with the quiet assurance of a kid who'd survived upheaval and come out stronger. Melody's calls had become less frequent and more perfunctory. Holiday visits were awkward affairs where she tried too hard to recreate motherly warmth that felt increasingly artificial. Tyler was polite but distant, treating her more like a friendly aunt than the woman who'd raised him for his first 9 years. "She asked me if I wanted to come live with her," Tyler told me after a visit in April, "in her new apartment." My stomach tightened. "What did you say?" "I asked her where I'd do my homework. Her place only has 1 room and the TV is always on because she says the quiet makes her nervous." He shrugged. "I told her I liked my room here better." That same week, I got a call from Tracy Ellison. I hadn't spoken to her since the picnic disaster, though I'd heard through neighborhood gossip that she'd started a successful real estate business and was dating a lawyer from uptown Charlotte. "Evan, I wanted to thank you," she said without preamble. "For what?" "For having the balls to do what needed to be done. I wasted 23 years married to a man who didn't respect me enough to be honest. If you hadn't exposed everything, I might have wasted 23 more. I was replacing a broken deck board on my back porch, holding my phone with my shoulder. How are you doing? Better than I've been in years." "Turns out I was pretty good at hiding my own misery behind all that social organizing." She laughed, but it sounded genuine. "The real estate business is booming, and David, that's the lawyer I'm seeing, actually listens when I talk." "That's great, Tracy. You deserve better than what you had." "We all did. Even Melody, though she chose the hard way to learn that lesson." After I hung up, I sat on the back porch watching Tyler practice pitching against the shed wall. His form was improving, but he still dropped his shoulder on the follow-through. That evening, we worked on the treehouse railings. Tyler had gotten good with a drill, and his measurements were nearly always accurate. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Sure. Do you think Mom will ever be normal again?" I considered the question while threading a bolt through the railing brackets. I think your mom is trying to figure out who she wants to be now that she can't be the person she was pretending to be before. That sounds complicated. Yeah, it is. Growing up is complicated, even when you're a grown-up. He held the bracket steady while I tightened the bolt. I'm glad you're not complicated. Oh, buddy, I'm plenty complicated. I just try to keep the complications from affecting you. Is that why you took all those pictures instead of just yelling at Mom? Smart kid. Part of it, yelling would have felt good for about 5 minutes, but it wouldn't have fixed anything. Planning and documenting fixed everything. And embarrassed the bad guys. Well, natural consequences embarrassed the bad guys. I just made sure the consequences happened. June brought Tyler's 11th birthday and the completion of our treehouse. We painted it forest green to blend with the oak tree's canopy, and Tyler had hung battery-powered lanterns inside for evening reading. The birthday party was small but meaningful. 6 kids from school, pizza from his favorite place, and a sleepover in the new treehouse. I watched from the kitchen window as they told ghost stories and argued about baseball statistics. Melody had asked to attend the party, but Tyler had politely declined. It would make my friends feel weird, he'd explained to her during their phone call. But you can take me to dinner next weekend, just us. She'd cried, but she'd accepted his decision. The next morning, after Tyler's friends went home, we cleaned up the yard together. He'd become systematic about these tasks, approaching cleanup the same way he approached building projects, with a plan and attention to detail. Dad, I want to show you something in the treehouse, he said after we'd collected the last of the paper plates. We climbed up the rope ladder he'd insisted on instead of regular steps. The interior was surprisingly spacious, with built-in shelves for his books and games, cushions for seating, and windows cut into 3 walls. Tyler pulled out a small wood-carving knife I'd given him for Christmas and pointed to one of the windowsills. I've been working on this. Carved into the wood, in careful block letters, were the words, Tyler and Dad's Place. I wanted to put something permanent here, he said, so people know this is ours. I ran my fingers over the carved letters, feeling the slight roughness where the knife had cut through the wood grain. It's perfect, buddy. We sat in comfortable silence, looking out through the treehouse windows at our backyard. The deck I'd built 3 years ago had weathered to a natural silver gray. The garden Melody had started and abandoned was now a thriving vegetable patch that Tyler and I maintained together. Do you think we'll always live here? Tyler asked. As long as you want to. This is home. He leaned against my shoulder, still small enough to fit perfectly in the crook of my arm. Good. I like our life now. Through the treehouse window, I could see the park where the infamous picnic had taken place. The pavilion was hosting some kind of graduation party. Families gathered around tables covered with red tablecloths. Different families, different celebrations, different secrets and lies and truths yet to be discovered. But from our treehouse, it all looked peaceful and distant, like problems that belonged to other people in other lives. Tyler picked up his book, some fantasy novel about dragons and magical kingdoms, and settled into his corner to read. I pulled out my own book, a biography of a carpenter who'd built custom furniture for famous writers. The afternoon sun filtered through the oak leaves, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow across the treehouse floor. Somewhere in the distance, a lawnmower hummed and children played in a neighbor's pool. Simple sounds, ordinary moments, the kind of peace that comes after a storm has passed and the debris has been cleared away. I opened my book and began to read, my son beside me, the treehouse solid and secure around us both.